What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Paradise Valley. This is episode number 4. And I know it was supposed to be a couple of weeks before I did an episode of Paradise Valley, and I was supposed to be focusing on Bluff City over the next couple of weeks. And I have decided which resort that I'm going to be working on next. But I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. In this episode, as you already see in the time lapse, I'm working on these apartment buildings, which is a retextured version of one of my first apartment buildings. And I'm also going to be working on a fast food restaurant, In and Out. And if you've been watching the series since the first episode, then you know that I said that I only want to focus on the strip and the casinos on the strip, and that I was not going to do any houses, any residential, any commercial or industrial. But I was lying, and I knew I was lying the whole time. But I was really just trying to convince myself to stay on task and stay focused and to not veer off of the strip too much. But I knew I was lying the whole time. Maybe one day I can grow up and be president. What really drove the creation of this episode was the fact that I did these apartments and that I was working on the In and Out, the restaurant. And before I uploaded them to the workshop, of course, I need to have some decent screenshots for the asset. And so since I would pretty much have to detail these assets anyway, I decided to roll them both into an episode of Paradise Valley. I really had a great time making this episode. It was a lot of fun in that this was a real simple project. It was something that I could start and finish in one episode. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. As far as detailing these apartments, it took a lot longer than I initially had thought. But what took the longest was actually figuring out and planning what direction I wanted to go as far as detailing and editing the apartments. Once I played around with a couple of things and I kind of had in mind what I was going to do as far as a lot of the time I spent was placing the tile decals around it. And once I figured it out how I wanted to lay those out, then the rest of it went smoothly. But it did just take some time lining up the different tiles using the prop line tool, using Move It, and some of them were just placed by hand. Around the perimeter of the apartment complex, I'm using the small wall that I created as part of the Skyline Mall assets. And I use this wall around the Oasis Hotel too, and it's really versatile. It really works for a lot of different situations. One problem that I did have with it was that it was a little too tall, but I decided to go ahead and use it anyway. I placed some hedges around it as well, and you'll see coming up later on in the time lapse. Rather than using the wall all around, I use Solding's iron fence to fence off the back part of the apartment. I'm also using a lot of different curb props just to kind of simulate some grass around some parts of the apartment complex. I didn't want to have a whole lot of grass though, because it's just not a whole lot of grass in Las Vegas. I'm also using some of my cement sidewalk props just to create some of these walkways and paths leading up to the apartments. And the asset itself already comes with one of the paths, but I just extended it depending on how far it was away from the street. This particular episode, I feel like I added an appropriate amount of detail, but not a whole lot. I didn't go overboard with it. It just is not a whole lot of detail to place in an apartment complex. I mean, I guess I could have gone overboard and just adding little extra random pieces of detail, but overall, the centerpiece of this episode is showcasing the assets anyway, and not necessarily the detail around them. In the rest of the episode, I'm just continuing to place this tile. I also add some benches and some chairs around the pools that I used, as well as fencing off some of the pool areas. So for some of the design as far as the tile decals, I took some inspiration from Omar City by Silverette, which was one of my favorite YouTube series. I really just like how the contrast between Paradise Valley and Bluff City, how the parts, at least the parts that I'm working on for this series, the parts of Las Vegas and Paradise Valley that I'm going to be working on is just going to be real upscale and luxurious, versus a lot of what I'm doing in Bluff City is kind of run down and grimy and gritty. So that really gives me an opportunity to switch up my style and do things differently. So at the end of the time lapse, you'll see me detailing the In-N-Out fast food restaurant. And big shout out to Preyes, who was the main catalyst for me doing this fast food restaurant. If you read some of the comments on the Steam Workshop, I don't really like doing fast food restaurants. Because oftentimes they just carry a lot of detail and a lot of different textures, and they're really small buildings, so it takes a lot of time to create a realistic look for a restaurant. But once I looked at some of the images for the In-N-Out, it really didn't have a whole lot of different textures or different designs on the building. It was really one main texture, which is the same texture that I'm using for these apartment buildings, and also the same roof texture that I was using for these apartment buildings. So it really worked well as far as getting that completed and using some of the same techniques that I was already using for this apartment retexture that I was doing. And so once I saw some of the images of the In-N-Out, it definitely fit with what I was already doing. And I really like the style of the building. I've actually never been to an In-N-Out. I'm not even sure if I've seen one in person. I might have during a couple of times that I've been in California, or I don't think I've ever seen one when I've been in Las Vegas, but maybe I've seen one when I've been in LA. I'm not too sure, but I've never eaten there or anything, so it's not a restaurant that I'm really too familiar with. But hopefully y'all out there will enjoy the asset. If y'all have any pictures or screenshots of some of my assets that y'all have used or detailed, I love to see them. You can tweet me links or post links here on YouTube. One of the main reasons why I even started watching YouTube was to see how other people use my assets. So you can definitely get in touch with me and leave me links to some of y'all's creations. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and the link is in the description, or you can just get in touch with me by leaving a comment. So do me a favor and y'all go ahead and smash that like button, share the video, and hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate all of y'all's support, and I will see y'all in the next episode.